Who's talking? Anybody talking yet?
Hi, Sarah.
Should have known that guy was trouble with that Redskin shirt on.
Before we get started, can I just ask a quick question to Piper Fitz there? What's the deal with the Redskin thing? I'm trying to figure this Redskin thing out.
I grew up
enlighten me.
I grew up in a Giants household and couldn't bear to think to have to root for the Giants when everybody else was. So I went my own way. And I even went like with Chicago Blackhawks. You know, the only thing that my father and I really saw eye to eye to was the Celtics.
Okay. All right. I had to ask you. That's 2 weeks in a row. You're sending a message. So thanks.
It's my meeting shirt.
He went his own way. Should have kept on going.
Welcome, everyone. I would like to call the budget hearing for the Valley Central School District on Monday, June 1st, 2020, to order at 6:04 p.m. I would ask that everyone please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm Sarah Messing, President of the Board of Education for Valley Central Schools. Welcome everyone to our budget hearing. Due to the fact that we are in a state of emergency in regards to the coronavirus, our district offices are closed and we are practicing our social distancing. We have decided to hold our budget hearing online for the health and safety of our board members, our administration, and our community. The budget hearing will be live streamed on the district's YouTube page. Since our community members cannot attend tonight's budget hearing in person, there are two ways that the public can participate in this hearing. There was an option to fill out a form on the district website in which you could make a statement regarding the budget or ask a question. And also a phone number will be displayed during the live stream of this meeting tonight in which you may call during the hearing if you have a question or comment. As is required during in-person public hearings, speakers will be required to state their name and their address. The phone number to call in is 845-457-8520. Before we get started, I'd like to take a minute to introduce my fellow board members. We have our Vice President, Joseph Bond, and trustees, Art Fitzgerald, Sonia Lewis, Diana Rivar, Sheila Schwartz, and Mel Westenberg, who I don't believe has joined us yet, but hopefully will be on soon. I would like to introduce our superintendent, Mr. Exempt, our assistant superintendent, Ms. Sarator, and our interim business official, Mr. Conklin. Our deputy superintendent, Mr. Bellarosa, is currently at the high school overseeing the work being done to get our ballots ready to go. We will give you more information on that later on in the meeting. Our district clerk, Ellen McGoldrick, and our media specialist, Patty Bear, are also in attendance. Thank you again to Chris Moore, our Director of Technology, for setting up this meeting, and to Patty Bear for recording and streaming the meeting and helping with the question and answer portion of the meeting. Before we start the hearing, I would like to thank our central office staff, Mr. Exempt, Mr. Bellarosa, Ms. Sarator, and Mr. Conklin, and his business office staff, along with all of our building principals, for all the hard work that they have done to put this budget together. At this point, I will pass it over to Mr. Conklin.
Thank you, Ms. Messing, and good evening. So before I review the budget, I'd like to share information regarding the absentee ballots. I understand there are a lot of questions and concerns. We were originally told by our vendor that ballots would be mailed on Saturday, May 23rd. Then it was pushed back until the 26th. On the 28th, we were told the 29th. Finally, on the 29th, last Friday, around 7 p.m., we were made aware by our attorney that Valley Central was one of approximately 50 districts that were affected by a supply issue, and our ballot mailing was delayed indefinitely. We immediately got to work. By 7:30, John Exanthus, Mike Bellarosa, Marianne Sarator, Ellen McGoldrick, Jen Thomas, and myself were on a conference call with our attorney. At 8:30, we were on a conference call with a team from Orange Ulster BOCES, who were eager to help us develop a plan forward. At 10 p.m., we had another call with the vendor to secure the data we needed to do our own printing. Saturday was spent securing the necessary items. We secured 55 postal trays from the Postal Distribution Center in Newburgh and the tens of thousands of mailing labels needed from office supply locations in Middletown, Central Valley, Newburgh, Wappingers, and Poughkeepsie. We were also on a number of conference calls throughout the day and working with OU BOCES as they pulled together ballot and envelope proofs for us. On Sunday, we met at the high school to print over 1,700 pages of labels. Today, BOCES printed the ballots and envelopes that we needed and delivered everything to a team of 60 volunteers at the high school to do the essential work of stuffing ballots. So many people deserve thanks for us to be able to pull this off. Within 3 hours after receiving notice that we may not even have a vote, we had a new plan in place. I'd like to thank the team at OU BOCES, Deborah Heppes, Kathy Sherlock, Becky Lindland, and Mark Coleman. Thank you to Jamie Baxter for offering the machines at the high school for label printing on Sunday. And thank you to Joanne Cassisi, Melissa Vesley, Ruth Purcell for spending your Sunday with us helping out. Thank you to Chris Moore, Craig Henry, and Steve Savage in technology for picking up the phone on Sunday when we needed help. Thank you to my assistant, Jen Thompson, for giving up your entire weekend to make this happen. We could not have pulled this off without you. She put in over 20 hours this weekend helping us make this work. Thank you to Ellen McGoldrick, Mike Bellarosa, and Marianne Sarator for all your help. Thank you again to Jamie Baxter for coordinating the ballot stuffing at the high school today. Thank you to the Valley Central Administrators Association, the VCTA, and all district staff members that have volunteered to help out stuff ballots. Thank you to Ryan Schmidt and his facilities department, Eleanor Mills in food service, and Renee Marchand. Thank you to Lisa Doyle for picking up the phone on Saturday when we needed her help. It has truly been a full team effort to pull this off, and I again thank each and every one of you. Finally, thank you to everyone in the community for your patience and understanding while we do the best we can under these unprecedented circumstances. I am proud of what everyone has accomplished, and I am happy to say that as of 5:50 tonight, our ballots are done. They will be in the mail tomorrow. Do you want to add something there? Give me,
Thanks, Brad, for walking through that. I was going to attempt to do that, and you said you had already had something in mind, and I appreciate that because you do a much more eloquent and concise job than I do because I always leave somebody out. But all of what Brad told you is certainly it took place. One little piece of this little side story. At 7:30, as Brad said, we had the call. About 10:15, Mike Belrosa called me, and he said, "So you can sleep better, John." He said, "We're not going to let the community down on this. We're going to make this happen." We talked to Debbie Heppis and other people that we needed to, and we'll be able to pull this off. So I have great confidence. Mike didn't need to call me to tell me that because I had great confidence and faith that the people here at Valley Central, the whole community, and as Brad expressed, it was the whole community pulling together. So we're in good shape. The ballots are out. We made the deadline. I was on a call with my superintendents today, and there was 4 or 5 districts affected, as we were, and they all scurried. I'm not sure it went as smooth as it did here, but again, just thanks to everybody for their hard work and their commitment to this community. It's unparalleled in Orange County. Thank you.
so with that, we'll move into a review of the 2021 budget report. And I will go ahead and try to share on my screen that actual brochure.
Brad, while you're doing that, this is Art Fitzgerald. I just wanted to commend you all for the effort that you did. I'm sure the community is extremely grateful and proud of all your hard work and everybody's work that came together to get the voter cards out. I appreciate what you've done.
Thank you, Art. So the budget booklet is available on our district webpage and available by mail if you would like to receive it. However, given the delay in mailing, we do encourage you to check the website for a copy of it. It contains information on board vacancies, voter qualifications, and the proposed budget. So I'm going to slide down to slide 6. So a review of the proposed budget, including estimated revenues and additional required documentation. So this year's budget proposal is $108,429,011, which represents a 1.5% increase over last year's budget and a tax levy increase of 2.86%. The 2020-2021 spending plan maintains the district's instructional program. At this time, we are unsure of what will happen with state aid revenue, but we'll pass any information along as we get it. So now to just quickly review the compliance information, and I'm sorry, I'm going to do a little bit of scrolling here. So the 6-day notice, it's down on page 71. This information will also be in the budget newsletter that will be mailed out tomorrow as well. This is a required notice that we have to do. It shows the budget adopted for the 2019-20 school year compared with the proposed budget for the 2021 school year, and also shows the contingency budget for the 2021 school year should this vote not be successful. Next, I'm going to jump up to the property tax report card. That is on page 67. Again, you can find this on your on the website if you'd like to take some more time to review it. Estimated salary disclosure is on page 73. So the state requires districts to report any estimated salaries for the 2021 school year that will be above the threshold of $141,000. The school district report card is also in this booklet on page 24. And it's a pretty lengthy document. I believe this information is also available on our website as well. Begins here. And our school district fiscal accountability is also in this section. And next is the school district exempt property report, which is all the way down on page 75. Begins down here. So we just won't go through it in detail at this meeting, but it is there for your review, and we are available to answer any questions you may have. So that brings us to questions and answers. And as a reminder, there is a direct line to call if you would like to ask questions. The number is 457-8520. Marianne, do you want to read?
I'll start with the ones that we have from online.
Yeah, let me stop sharing my screen here. I'll turn my mic off.
Good evening. So as you know, one of the ways that you could ask questions was on our online form. So what I'm going to do at this time is there was 3 questions that were submitted via our district budget hearing form. The first question is from Marianne Rothstein from Montgomery. It is a question, and her question was, what form do we use to vote if we need to use the locked ballot box? So as Mr. Conklin already indicated, we will send the ballots out tomorrow in the morning mail. And because the mail has been so unreliable, there has been a lockbox set up in every district building, including ALC and central office. Those boxes will be available from Wednesday through budget vote day on Tuesday, the 9th, except for Sunday from 8 to 5. There will be somebody manning those lock boxes from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you can drop off your ballot at any one of those locations during the week.
You can also put it in the mail.
But you can also put it in the mail. This is just if you're not confident that the ballot will be to us by the 9th at 5 o'clock, because as the order indicates, we cannot accept any ballots after 5 o'clock on June 9th. So that is our first question. Our second question is from David Omar. And his question is, with the state facing a serious revenue shortfall in the billions of dollars, schools will certainly see cuts. So when the state is less, some may say up to 25%, how does the district make up the difference on an approved budget? Mr. Conklin, would you like to answer that question?
Sure. So when the voters do approve the budget, that is essentially it. So any state aid reductions would allow the board to lower the budget, which is it's available to the board at any time. A budget is an up to. So if we do find out later this month, this summer, that our revenue is going to be reduced, we will ultimately be faced with some difficult decisions on how to reduce our budget overall.
The third question is from Jessica Venetis from Montgomery. She has 2 questions. Her first question is for the board. So we'll answer these. In your own words, justify why there are increases in administrative salaries and benefits, some obvious and some buried, on almost every applicable line in this proposed budget. Do you want me to answer?
So, no, I can just add that there are increases, which are contractual increases, and they are contracts that the board has been approved, and we're obligated to honor those increases.
However, one thing to note is that as far as administrative salaries, whether they be VCAA or central office staff, there have been no salaries approved at this time, and there could be no salary given to an administrator that isn't approved by the Board of Education. However, we do need to have those amounts in there as a placeholder, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we would spend up to that amount. The second question is, why personally do you feel it is acceptable to ask more of our community at this unprecedented time when schools are closed until further notice, decreasing operating expenses? Many residents have lost jobs or have been placed on unemployment, and you have had an almost 1.9 million increase in tax dollars from previous years.
So my answer to that is we may see some savings this year. However, we are also seeing some unexpected expenses in regards to food service, childcare, and unemployment costs, which could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars range. So that is for this year. We, of course, will see a little bit of savings, and we will also see an increase in expenses. This budget is what we need to do to educate children for next year. And at this point, we do not know what next year will look like. So we have to plan a budget as we would normally with kids coming back in September. And when the plan is developed and we get to see what September will look like, we may have to make some adjustments at that time.
In addition, it is important to note that at this time, we've already decreased our staff by 12 positions. Also, as we move into the 2021 school year with COVID-19 and all that, we're going to be facing, there are going to be a lot of challenges for us in opening up the schools. And so at this time, we just felt that although some people think that reducing the tax levy is a responsible thing to do, it's actually in our mind not responsible. Because as we've said in the past, that you would have to reduce the tax levy by a very significant amount in order to make any type of significant impact on the pocketbook of the taxpayer. But anything that we cut from the budget has directly impacted our children. Do you want to add anything, Mr. Conklin?
Well said.
Those are all the questions that we have from our online forms. Have we gotten any phone calls? So just as a reminder that there is a phone number posted on the YouTube video, and you're free to call at any time during this presentation if you have a question.
So I'll move into review of board election procedure by Mr. Conklin. And I believe we're going to start with introduction of board candidates first. So voters will elect 2 members to the Board of Education. There are 3 people running for 2 seats. The candidates are Joseph Bond, Katie McKnight, and Sheila Schwartz. The board members will be elected to serve for 3-year terms beginning July 1st. Next, review of important dates by Mr. Conklin. All ballots must be received by 5 p.m. on June 9th to be counted. That is not a district deadline. That is a deadline that was set by the governor through his executive order. So again, in order for your ballots to be counted, we do need to have them received by the district by 5 p.m. on June 9th. Review of voter qualifications and related information. Voters must be a citizen of the United States, at least 18 years old, and a resident of the district for at least 30 days. I will review the absentee ballots. So each registered district voter will receive an absentee ballot in the mail. There is nothing you need to do to request one. In accordance with the governor's executive order, ballots must be received by the district clerk no later than 5 p.m. on Tuesday, June 9th. Voters can mail their ballots or deliver them in person to any school building, including the ALC and the administration building. Ballots will be hand counted at the high school on June 9th by essential volunteers. This process has been reviewed and approved by our attorneys. The district clerk will give the election inspectors the oath of office, and at 12 p.m. they may start opening the ballots. The ballot counting process will be live streamed on the district's website. Tables will be arranged to allow for social distancing, and masks and gloves will be provided. Three inspectors will be seated at each table, and ballots will be divided up into piles of 20 ballots. The district clerk will have already made sure that the oath envelope has been checked for accuracy and that it has been signed. An election inspector will open the oath envelopes, remove the folded ballots, and place them in the ballot box. The ballots will then be stacked in groups of 20 and distributed to the election inspectors at the tables. To count the votes, one person at each table will read the vote aloud to the other two inspectors. The person opening the folded ballots will look for any that have extraneous marks or attachments, have voted twice on the budget, or for more than the allowable number of board candidates. A ballot would be void if all parts were unclear. The election inspector will put aside any ballots that may be challenged or void. The election inspector will then read aloud the vote to the other two at the table, who will record the votes with slash marks on their tally sheets. They will count the ballots in batches of 20, compare numbers, and move on to the next batch. Each group of ballots will be kept with the tally sheets. There will be one individual that goes around to check each tally sheet so that ballots cannot be counted twice. Once all ballots are counted, the district clerk and the deputy district clerk will tally the results to finalize the vote counts. The final vote and the election tally will be communicated to the Board of Education and provided on the district website.
There's another question.
Okay, I'm done, so I can go back to you.
So as Mr. Conklin was reading that, I just checked my drive to see if there was any more questions that came in. And there was one more question from Sonia Lewis from Maybrook. And her question is, I'm trying to pull this up on my screen while I'm on the meeting at the same time. But basically, her question was that there was a discrepancy in the region scores for our Black and African-American students, and how are we going to address those discrepancies? So that's an excellent question. As you all know, every year we get a report card from New York State, and it indicates test scores for all grade levels from 3rd grade through the 12th grade. There are some of our regions where African Americans do not do as well as all students. However, there are other regions exams where our African American students actually do better than or the same as all of our students. This is when we get our report cards, we are told by the state whether or not we have made accountability or we have not made accountability. And most often, the areas that we are red flagged in is with our children that are economically disadvantaged or our students with disabilities. So very often, because that is the areas that the state says that we need to concentrate on, those are the areas that we put a lot of our efforts into with our strategic plan. However, this is a wonderful question, and we have over the last couple of years been working with a consultant, Dr. Jess LeBlanc, to help us to address the culturally inclusive classroom and to make sure that our teachers are developing lessons that meet the needs of all cultures. And so we will continue that and move it from the middle school into the high school as well next year. We will also be looking at the areas such as geometry and living environments where African American students are not doing well, and we will be diving more deeply into that data to find out why they are not doing well. So we do appreciate the question.
Yep. As I often say, there's always gaps in my story, and a key piece of information that I left out, that Brad included, but I just want to mention, I spoke to Mrs. Messing, the president, twice that night, and so did her attorney. So the board, through Mrs. Messing, certainly her leadership was part and parcel of the solution of what we were doing and how it might work and how it might look, and making sure that we had a good plan in place and that we're going to hit the milestones that we needed to meet the mandate to hold an election through absentee ballot. So, Mrs. Messing, thanks for, again, your help that night and for your support. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Xanthus, Mr. Conklin, Ms. Sarator. Is there anything from anyone further before we adjourn our budget hearing?
Sarah, this is Joe. Can I just ask a question? Just in regards to the ballots, I'm curious, if somebody just writes a name on a piece of paper, you know, how is that handled? And second, I guess, is for the drop box, it's just a drop box, right? So it's not like you can go to the drop box and get a ballot. You need to bring it with you. Is that correct?
Yes, you'll receive your ballot in the mail. It has a barcode on it. It is specific to an individual at that address, and then they would bring back that ballot. There was also a question about people who couldn't make it to get to one of the buildings, and we did talk to our attorneys about that, and it is allowable for example, if you wanted to bring your spouse's ballot with you at the same time, you are able to do that. But it has to come in that specific envelope that you received in the mail. It can't just be a piece of paper. And it has to be signed. It's very specific. I got mine today from Pine Bush, and it's very specific. It explains exactly what you need to do. So it should be easy enough for our public to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Sarah, it's Sheila. I have two questions. One, I'm hearing that there's mail delays that are over a week. Is there any way to address those issues? You know, like if we're mailing them out tomorrow and it's taking well over a week for residents to get their mail, are we not concerned whether they'll even get these ballots in time?
We are
Is my first question.
concerned. So they're going to go out in the mail from Newburgh tomorrow. First thing in the morning, they're going out first class. So from what we're told, they should be there either on Wednesday or Thursday. So they most definitely should be there well before the end of the week, which is why we have secured the lock boxes in place. But, you know, we're just doing the best we can with the cards that we were dealt and with the 50 other districts in the state were dealt. And I think we've done a good job. So we're absolutely concerned. But we do have faith that by mailing them out first thing tomorrow morning with first class, that they will be delivered by the households by Wednesday or Thursday. And again, to the public, if you do not receive your ballot, you know, please give us a call, and we'll do the best that we can to follow up with the post office and see what may be holding that up.
So if they don't receive them by Thursday, you're saying at the latest, perhaps call the district?
Again, could you repeat?
Hello?
Go ahead. Chief.
I said if a resident doesn't receive their ballot by Thursday at the latest, they should call the district?
I wouldn't say Thursday. I think that's a little too soon. I mean, originally with the original company that we had contracted with, their deadline for mailing them out was on June 3rd. That was their contractual obligation to us was to have them mailed out by June 3rd. That was the contract that we signed, in which many other districts across the state have signed. It was a state approved by the governor. So we are actually, by mailing them out tomorrow on the 2nd, we're actually a day ahead and not being.
Well, that's good. I'm just asking when, just to give residents an idea, like if you're sitting at home, when should you ask?
I can just add, you know, when we first were met with this issue on Friday night, Mike and I, we were willing to drive to Buffalo because we were willing to go up there and pick up the pieces that were printed and bring them back. And then there's the possibility that there was a COVID issue in the place. So we kind of abandoned that. The same thing with the postcards. We knew that the postcards were delayed, and they had told us that they went out on Friday. And I believe at a board meeting, I told you that they went out on Friday. We learned late Monday night that they actually didn't go out on Friday. They were beginning to be delivered to the post office on Monday. And the same thing, we had offered to go pick up the ballots in Buffalo on Tuesday morning and get them here and mail them here. We were hoping that mailing them locally would help expedite it a little bit. We were told by NTS that we could not do that. So we really, we understand the concerns with the mail. We've really tried to do everything we can to, as far as paying for first class postage versus bulk mail. We've done everything that we can to try to expedite it as fast as we can. And by us getting them out tomorrow, voters should have time to get their ballot in the mail, fill it out, and get it back in the mail to us in time. And if you're not confident in that, we encourage you to drop it off at one of our lock boxes.
But as Marianne was saying that, hopefully people will have them Wednesday, Thursday. Is there a date, say Friday, Monday? When do you encourage residents, if they haven't received their ballot, to call you at central office? That was my only question.
I mean, I think that they just need to use their own discretion. If the public is always welcome to call the central office.
Okay, thank you. And my last question was about the contingency budget. So all we have is what was put into the 6-day notice regarding the contingency budget? No other information?
Can you say that again?
The 6-day notice aligns what the district faces if we were to go into a contingency budget. I'm saying there's nothing else posted out there on what a contingency budget means. I've had residents say, well, what cuts would be made in a contingency budget?
Well, that question was actually answered during the budget presentation last week. And what was said then is that if we go to a contingency budget, we would be forced to cut 1.7, is that correct? 1.7? $1.7 million from the current budget. So we would take the recommendations from the administrative team for how we would go about cutting that $1.7 million. Does that answer your
Okay.
question?
Well, yeah, it does. I mean, I'm just thinking about the 12 retirees we have, which amount to like 1.2.
Those are part of the
So
current budget. Those are in the current budget.
But yeah, they are currently. So if we have to go to contingency, I'm sorry, say that again, Marion?
The current budget was created with those 12 cuts already accounted for. So when we developed the current budget, that's why the budget to budget increase is so much less than it has been in the past 7 years, is because we looked through every position and we did away with 12 positions, which is one of the reasons why the budget to budget increase is less than it ever has been in 7 years. So those 12 positions that were eliminated are already accounted for in the current budget. They're not going to be.
So
part
then
of
wouldn't it mean that
They're
the
already in
contingency, wouldn't it mean that the
out of
contingency,
$1.7 million to the current budget if we go to contingency. And the tax increase for the tax savings for the resident would be very minimal. That would be approximately 17 teaching positions or an administrative position and 15 teachers if we were to go to a contingency budget, which would affect.
thank you for letting me get my questions out. Thank you.
I can't hear. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. How come I can't hear? An email?
Marianne?
Yep.
I just wanted to clarify that you said that if you want your ballot to be delivered, but you can't get it there, that somebody can deliver it for you, correct?
Yes, Sonia, absolutely. And that was confirmed with the attorneys. Okay, we have another question from a phone call, so just bear with me. I gotta figure this out. Okay. All right. So I am gonna actually play the phone call. Right.
This is unbelievable.
Jim Zock, 80 Booksdaver Lane, Montgomery, 845-778-7167. My question is, if the ballot arrives in the mail Saturday and it gets mailed Saturday, it may not get there by Tuesday. Is that going to be a problem for most people? And if is there going to be a time that as long as they're postmarked before the 9th, that they'll be counted? This is getting quite close to the end of any possibilities for the mail-in ballot.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So was everybody able to hear that, the question from Mr. Zock? It had to do with the mailing of ballots, and if the ballot comes on Saturday, there may not be enough time to get it back. And unfortunately, he may be correct. So I would take it as a personal decision. If you do not feel like you can get it back, or the mail will not get it back to the district by Tuesday at 5 p.m., we encourage you to bring it to the district yourself. We have already planned to staff the buildings on Saturdays so that there will be somebody there to monitor the drop-off of ballots in the lock boxes. And we've tried to do all we can here. Unfortunately, we can't control the post office. There are many other districts in the same boat as we are. We've heard that Middletown School District is stuffing ballots as we speak. We know that Monroe Woodbury, their ballots went out in the mail from Buffalo today. And Pine Bush's ballots just arrived today, and they were mailed at some point last week. So we have really done all that we can on our end. We are not able to come pick up the ballot from you ourselves. If we could, we would, but we just simply cannot do that. So the district will be open on Saturday for you to drop your ballots off.
One other piece
Brad?
of the question was, if it was postmarked before the 9th, would it be accepted? And the answer to that question is no. They do have to be arrive in the district by June 9th at 5 o'clock. It could be by 5 o'clock at any one of those lockbox locations. Every elementary school has a lockbox. The ALC has a lockbox. Central office has a lockbox. So, and high school and the middle school have a lockbox. So there are 8 locations where you could drop off your ballot. So I would suggest going to the one that is closest to you, and there will always be somebody manning that box when you walk in.
And if
Marianne,
it's okay if I just add,
where,
on our call Friday night that I was speaking about earlier, one of the questions we asked through our attorney who had been in touch with Albany, I guess it's the deputy governor, whoever his title is, I'm not quite sure. This is one of our questions. Will be some consideration now that we're not sure about our ballots and meeting the timetables, we could push back the date, receive ballots on the 9th, but count them through the 11th or 12th or whatever date the state would deem feasible. And the answer was absolutely not. It's the governor's directive. It's election by absentee ballot. You either hold your elections. If you don't hold your election, you can go right to austerity. That was our answer. So we did ask those questions. We had the same concern, but as Brad and Marianne just mentioned, we're at the mercy of the post office. Although I think it bodes well for us. It's going out of Newburgh, not out of Buffalo or Niagara Falls. I'm not sure which it came out of for the other districts. So that's a great question. I appreciate you posing it, and let's hope that they land in a timely manner. Thanks again.
I didn't.
where exactly will the lock boxes be located? Like, I know you said the
There is
school,
one more
but
question.
where?
So I will play this
Can you
one.
not hear me?
Yeah, Ellen, whoever's getting this,
I failed to leave a callback number when I asked about the salary concerns I have. My number is 845-427-5434. Also, I have another question concerning these salaries. I'd like to know how for the business official who was on an interim basis and was making $120,000 in salary. I look at the salary disclosure form, and he's going to be making $180,000 in salary. That's a $60,000 increase. I don't know how anybody can justify that. I know that he's now Brad is a full-fledged business official, but there is in no way I don't see how anybody can justify a $60,000 salary increase. That is stratospheric, and it basically borders on criminal in these economically challenging times. Can somebody please address that for me and respond? Preferably a board member. I know that he's an assistant. Well, he's in the central office, and there are principals that are making probably $160,000, but they. My callback number is 845-427-5434.
So I'd be happy to, that was Mr. Lown, and thank you very much, Mr. Lown, for the question. And again, I do believe that the question was actually addressed at the last meeting, but we will be happy to answer it again. So in that line item for $180,000 is currently the business official's salary. In addition, the mentor, Mrs. Millsap's salary is in there. As I said before, Mr. Conklin his salary has not been.
Marianne, this is Sheila. Excuse me, hold on. You said that 60 increase, that 180 is two people's salary. That should not be reported to New York State for two people's salary. The contractor is only making 60K. So if we're not giving Brad an increase, why is it listed as 180K going to the state?
That salary is for the position, but as you also know, that until the board approves the salary, there is no salary. There has been no negotiated salary. So at this point,
But the board hasn't had those discussions during its budget presentation about any salary increases.
It was simply.
Thank you for talking over me. Thank you.
All of that money for that particular salary, it most certainly could be used somewhere else. And as we said last time, with the all of the different things that are happening with the COVID, a lot of people have asked us, well, what are you going to do if you have increased cost for COVID? What if you have to hire consultants to come in? What if you need, you have teachers that have 504s and you have all of these different issues you need to address, and they cost money. And to have a couple thousand extra dollars in that line item makes no significance to this budget at all. But at no time has it been said that the salary for the business official has been set, because it hasn't, and it cannot be set until the board approves the salary for that position.
I beg to differ. I think transparency is what this community needs. So to hide cash in line items is ridiculous.
Was it? Is there anything else?
Marianne, this is Joe. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I think Sonia was trying to ask a question before, and I could hear her, but I don't know if anybody else could, so I'm gonna ask it on her behalf and hope I get it right. Sonia was asking where specifically in the schools would you find the lockbox? Like, should you go in the main entrance to the office? Where exactly?
Right in the main entrance. So when you walk into the vestibule, it'll be right there. There'll be a sign on the door. There's all the marquees in all of the buildings would say, actually, Bria already has theirs. All the marquees will say where the box is right inside the front door. So whichever building you go in the front door, it'll be greeted. There'll be somebody in there to greet you. And if you don't see the box, they'll let you know where it is. And the hours will be posted on the doors as well. Sorry, Sonia, I didn't hear your question.
Does anybody have anything further?
Before we do end, I did want to say, and I know that Mr. Conklin said it already, but it was really, I was very proud this evening. You know, we haven't seen people in a long time in this district, and it was very heartwarming to see so many teachers and paras and administrators all following the CDC regulations, but all together working. They didn't even want to stop to eat. And it was just heartwarming to see so many people coming together to do the right thing for this community. And that's what Valley Central is all about. It is a great community, and I would not want to be anywhere else, no matter what hard times we go through. This is the place that I want to be. It's a great district, and watching everybody tonight really busting themselves in order to get this done. And over the weekend and on the phone and with everyone, it was just, it made me VC proud. So thank you to everybody who helped with this very, very difficult time. And I just want to thank Mr. Conklin and Mr. Villarosa and Mr. Exempt for their leadership and for, you know, all they've done, and to Mrs. Messing for everything she's done. This has been a tough time, but we're going to get through it. And so thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Should we be telling people if they are going to be dropping off their ballots to be wearing masks?
Yes.
the governor's order.
Yes. Especially, they won't be 6 feet, they'll be 6 feet away from the person that's inside the building, but we don't know how many people will be coming at once. So absolutely, if people are coming, and we would be happy to send out a message to clarify that as well, that they should absolutely be wearing a mask.
Anything further? There's nothing further at this time. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the budget hearing.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
This is Joe. I'll second.
Thank you, Joe. I'll do a roll call vote. Sarah Messing, yes. Joe Bond,
Yes.
Art Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Sonia Lewis,
Yes.
Diana Rivera,
Yes.
Sheila Schwartz,
Yes.
Mel Wessenberg, Mel? I must have lost him. Motion passes 6-0 to adjourn the budget hearing at 6:53. Thank you all, and thank you to the entire Valley Central family that continues to work so hard in these unprecedented and difficult times that we are facing. We appreciate everything you have done and continue to do. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you.